Here we presents the top 5 best Canon zoom lens. Starting of our listed number 5. Canon EFS 24mm f2.8. You won't get a lens quite like this anywhere else, a known brand APS-C lens for Canon. And, happily, it's a very solid one. The Canon EFS 24mm f2.8 STM is a pancake lens that's super lightweight, providing a useful equivalent focal length of about 38mm, and it pairs really well with Canon's lighter APS-C DSLRs. Image quality is great, handling produces no complaints. This is a really solid lens that won't let you down. The Canon EFS 24mm f2.8 STM is the only prime lens that Canon produces specifically for APS-C format DSLRs. You could also use a full-frame compatible 24mm lens, but this dinky optic has a lot going for it. As a pancake lens, it's compact and lightweight at 68 by 23mm and 125 grams. That makes it stealthy for street photography, especially when mounted on one of Canon's smaller cameras like the 250D or 2000D. Like other STM lenses, manual override of autofocus and fully manual focusing are available via an electronically coupled focus ring. Unless the camera is switched on and focusing is activated, for example after a light press of the shutter button, manual override is unavailable. For more information and price, check out the product links and description. Coming in at number 4 of our list. Canon EF 16-35mm f4L. This new ultra-wide-angle zoom lens should replace Canon's venerable 17-40mm f4L optic in their lineup of professional lenses. It sports a zoom range of just over 2x and a constant maximum aperture of f4. Unlike most Canon lenses with a constant maximum aperture of f4, this lens is actually more expensive than the f2.8 offering, covering the same focal range. It does include a 4-stop image stabilizer, but that can't be all that justifies the more expensive price, can it? In this review we'll take a look at how the lens performs and whether it is worth the extra expense. As focusing is performed internally, the 77mm filter ring does not rotate, which makes the lens ideal for use with graduated and polarizing filters. A pedal-shaped hood is supplied with the lens, which attaches via bayonet fitting. The button on the hood that releases the lock is quite easy to engage accidentally when removing the lens from a case or bag, so care may need to be taken not to lose the hood. The image stabilization system fitted to this lens promises to allow sharp images to be taken at shutter speeds 4 stops slower than would be possible without the system enabled. Sharp images can be produced around half the time with shutter speeds as low as 1-2 seconds at 35mm, which is roughly 4 stops slower than the usual rule of thumb would allow for handheld shooting. Halfway of our listed number 3. Canon EF 24-70mm f2.8 LII. The Canon EF 24-70mm f2.8 LIISM really is an excellent lens, there's no quibbling with that. It shoots terrific images and its weather sealing is among the best Canon has ever produced, making it a fantastic choice for landscapes. It is something of a shame, however, that the sharpness and contrast of its images aren't significantly better than its rivals from third-party manufacturers, which offer similar quality at a much better price. Build quality is better than in the original lens, making the Mark II one of the most robust and extensively weather-sealed zooms in Canon's history. Fluorine coatings are added to the front and rear elements, to repel moisture and grease, and to ease cleaning. Canon expects you to be carrying this lens around all day, in what might not necessarily be the most pleasant of weathers, and it's designed as such. One thing that's still lacking from the design of the Mark II is image stabilization, and given that standard zooms tend to be used in everyday handheld shooting, some photographers will consider this a major omission. It's also worth bearing in mind that this lens is significantly more expensive than competitors in the same focal range from the likes of Sigma and Tamron, and these lenses tend to be stabilized. Not a ruinous omission, but a surprising one, to be sure. Number 2 of this list. Canon EF 35mm f1.4L. The EF 35mm f1.4L zoom lens is a really nice and very well regarded Canon prime lens. The 35L has membership in the Canon L Lens Club, and it shows. Build quality is addictingly excellent, professional grade. The Canon EF 35mm f1.4L zoom lens is slightly soft at f1.4, but usable in my opinion. There is a noticeable improvement by f2.0. Some vignetting will be apparent to full frame and 1.3x FOVC FDSLR users until stopped down f2 or so. Any distortion present is very minimal. FOVC f-body users should notice none. Although the 35mm L has a different focal length than the Canon 24mm f1.4L Zoom lens, the two are very similar in build, image quality and price, and may both suit some of the same applications. The 35L proved similar to my 24L in most comparison tests. Both exhibited some light fall-off wide open even on a 1.3x FOVC f-body. At similar apertures, the 35 f1.4L was clearly sharper than my Canon 16-35mm f2.8L Zoom lens at 35mm. The difference narrowed to very little by f4 and was nearly gone at f8. And coming in at number 1 of our list, Canon EF 40mm f2.8. Canon EF 40mm f2.8 STM in large. I got mine at Adorama. You also can get them at Amazon and at B&H. My biggest source of support for this ad-free website is when you use those or any of these links when you get anything, regardless of the country in which you live. It helps me keep adding to this free website when you get your things through these links, but I receive nothing for my efforts if you buy elsewhere. Thanks for your support. Ken. This is wide open at f2.8 with no correction for fall-off or lateral color fringes. This lens is super sharp out to the edges wide open, and remember in this real-world example, the only thing really in perfect focus is the stack of plates in the middle. This Canon EF 40mm f2.8 STM is a tiny lens with superb optical performance. This tiny thing isn't much bigger than a lens cap, and has unbeaten optics. I have included these product links in the description. You can check out these links for more information and latest price. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe.